Hi, this is Jed Hafer at the Love and Logic Institute, talking to you about the question, is it love and logic? Doing our social media stuff, I see this question an awful lot. People will say, is this love and logic or is this love and logic? And being a philosophy, being an approach rather than a rigid system that you follow, there are some pitfalls because it's not an easy thing to define sometimes. So I wanted to give you just kind of a list of questions that you can ask if you're saying, am I keeping with the love and logic philosophy? A few questions that we can run through to maybe help determine that. So the first is it loving? And I know that sounds maybe cliche or lame because love gets thrown around an awful lot, but is what I'm doing, my interaction with this person, is that loving? And that's even tough to define, right? I think people have been trying to define that for a long, long time, especially people who write songs. But I'll give you my list that I try to run through for myself when I'm determining, am I being loving? Am I being patient? Am I being kind? Am I being unselfish where it's not about me or my need to win? Am I being forgiving or showing grace to the other person, especially on a level that I would want shown to me? Have I set aside my need to be right or to overcome this person or again, to win? Is my instinct to protect or preserve this person or their dignity? That kind of shoots into the next question. Am I preserving the dignity? Am I preserving the dignity of the other person? And am I preserving the dignity of myself? In other words, I don't know about you, but when I rant and rave and scream and make threats I can never follow through with, I feel like I'm not doing a very good job of preserving my dignity. I think that's the obvious one. But when we talk about preserving the dignity of a kid, let's get into what that means a little bit. I'm not berating or going for the bad feeling, trying to make you feel bad. I'm not really trying to emotionally manipulate you, in this bad way where you feel bad and that makes you do the right thing. I think we're all guilty of that as parents. I'm going to use guilt a little bit here to make them feel bad, and then that'll improve their behavior. If I'm not preserving the dignity, and that one also kind of creeps into the trying to win territory a little bit, then it's not really in keeping with the beliefs, with my core beliefs, and also with the philosophy of love and logic, because that's really our first and foremost principle at Love and Logic is preserving the dignity of everybody, preserving the dignity of the kid I'm in an interaction with, and again, of myself, which is sometimes even more difficult. How about, am I letting the consequence or the result do most of the teaching versus me lecturing? If I find myself shaking my finger or after the fact using a lot of lecture about here's what you should be learning, I'm kind of ruining love and logic, and I'm often ruining or at least tainting the lesson of that logical result, the understanding of cause and effect. My choice caused this result, and from the standpoint of the kid, that's what we want. We want kid going, my choice contributed to or caused this result, and I probably need to make a better choice next time. That's real learning of cause and effect, and that's really what we're aiming for, above and beyond managing the behavior or trying to micromanage the behavior of the child that's either our own or a child that we're working with. I'll give you a couple more. These first two are huge. Am I being loving? Is this decision I've made as a parent or as an educator or other professional, is it loving and is it preserving the dignity? Those are huge. Another one that is helpful for me is, am I going for the pain or am I going for the lesson? And this particularly comes up with consequences. We think, I've got to find the more painful result or consequence for the kid, and that's the one that they'll really learn from, versus So many times in Love and Logic, we hear this story over and over again. My kid did this particular task to put my energy back. Or, she did this chore and I noticed while she was doing it, she was smiling. Or they handed me some of their savings to pay for this thing that they broke carelessly or broke on purpose. And I couldn't believe you could just see the positive feelings on the child's face and kind of them standing taller, and from a standpoint of self-concept, it seemed to really, they didn't look like they were feeling bad. They actually looked like they're feeling pretty good about this. And that's good. As human beings, we feel good when we solve problems. We feel good when we make things right. We tend to feel good when we put something back, pay it back, fix it, repair it. That just feels good. We seem to really thrive on restoration, being restored in the relationship. So sometimes adults will panic, and I've been guilty of this myself. As the adult, I'll panic and say, kid didn't suffer enough. They didn't wail and scream and beg for mercy enough. Therefore, this must not have worked. This consequence or this logical solution that we came up with, the kids seem to enjoy it. Panic. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Please do not panic when kids don't squirm, cry, beg for mercy. Some kids, that's just not their personality. They're not going to let you win, or at least let you see that you have won. Remember, we weren't out to win in the first place. We were out to help this kid understand logical cause and effect and become a better decision maker, right? So it's not about me winning, but I especially don't want to feel like I lost because they didn't cry or there didn't seem to be enough suffering on their part. That's not what it's about. Many times I cause a problem, and in the process of fixing that problem, I feel pretty good. And is that okay? Yes, that's actually more love and logic than the other way around. We think, kid did something. There's a lot of stories. The kid did something, and then there was a real significant consequence, and the kid really learned from that. And we think, it was the pain that did it. And sometimes it is. Sometimes pain does help those lessons really, really come through. But we're not going for the pain. We're not aiming for pain. We are aiming for logical, that's the logic in love and logic, right? Logical cause and effect that says essentially this: when I cause a problem, I'm kind of expected to fix that or solve that or somehow contribute to making it right. And when I do that, two things happen. I feel pretty good myself internally because I solved a problem or helped solve a problem. But also these adults, these love and logic adults, they don't hold grudges. They don't hold it against me. They don't rub salt in the wound. They don't make me feel bad for a really long time. I am restored, and our relationship is restored relatively quickly. If we think about it in love and logic, that's a healthier trajectory right after a mistake, is that we're back on the path and moving forward quicker than if we were dwelling on the guilt and you better learn your lesson. And again, my personal tendency and temptation is to ruin it by over lecturing after the fact. Well, now it's starting to not sound like love and logic, because that's one of the first things we cut out. I'll kind of finish with this. Should have started with it, but really 2 rules in love and logic. We set firm limits. We do so in loving ways. There's that love thing. And we cut out anger, lecture, threats, repeated warnings. All things that kind of take away from the lesson, that can at least ruin the lesson. And rule number 2, when kids have problems, or especially when they cause problems, we hand those problems back in what kind of ways? Loving ways. There it is again, patient ways, kind ways, ways where we're not out to win or again, rub salt in the wound. Ways that have an expectation that you're capable. You, kid, are able to solve this problem. That's why I'm handing it back. I'm not handing it back because I don't care. I'm handing it back because I believe in you. I'm handing it back because I believe you are capable. And that is huge. If I find myself sending "you are not capable" messages, that's probably the opposite of love and logic. If I find myself sending messages that say, I believe in you, kid. If anybody can handle this, it's you. And even when we don't do well, we'll try again next time. There's a real hopefulness in love and logic. So that's another way you can tell if it's not sounding hopeful and if it's not kind of erring on the side of the capability of the kid. That's why we don't helicopter, right? That's why we don't hover and over rescue and over micromanage, because that sends the "you are not capable" messages. So I hope that is helpful in determining, is this decision, is this stance, is this consequence in this situation, is this love and logic or not? I wish sometimes that there were a very black and white definition, a very hard and fast, concrete way to say yes or no, but we have to do some evaluating, right? Just like everything, we have to use some judgment and common sense, which is encouraged in love and logic. It's another reason we try not to be a rigid, all or nothing kind of a system, but a principles-based system where you pull skills and ideas and say, I'm going to use this one this time, but I'm still going to always temper that with judgment, common sense, my knowledge and understanding of my child, our relationship, their age, their development level, a lot of factors to consider. And that, to me, with people, is the best way to evaluate things on a principles-based level. If you're inspecting my airplane that I'm going to fly in, I want you to be rules-based. There's 21 checkpoints. I want you to go through those rigidly with no deviation, very, very black and white, very rules-based, right? With human beings, it's hard to be that way because human beings are kind of different, right? Even from day to day, I'm different. From minute to minute, depending on how much caffeine I've had or how much sleep I've had or how hungry I am, we are all over the map, we tend to be as human beings. So there's some timing involved. There's some nuance. There's certainly judgment. There's certainly common sense. I might even make this decision today, whereas yesterday I would have handled it a little bit differently. And let's not beat ourselves up for that. That's called being a human. So once again, we really hope that is helpful. We really appreciate your diving into this love and logic stuff and going on this journey with us. If you have questions, you can call and get a real person, 1-800-338-4065, or loveandlogic.com. Tons of great stuff on our website, including all of our products, books, audios, videos, just about anything you could want, especially as a parent or a professional. If you're dealing with a subject, we probably have some materials on it, so check that out. We'll see you again next time.